helpful. I know all of you, if you're in this Youth Leadership Academy, are wanting to be leaders, or you're already leaders. So I thought to really frame this presentation in terms of health and well-being and what you need to do to be a leader and optimally functioning as a leader. And I think this information could be helpful for yourself as well as for the people that you're leading. So I'm hoping that you can take some things away from what I'm presenting tonight. So what I wanted to start off with, I know that, mental health has really been a focus, especially since the pandemic, because we do have a mental health crisis in the United States right now. However, as psychology has been working with other fields, such as medicine, such as, public health, the one thing that we actually are starting to actually work towards is that we know mental, physical, social, and spiritual are all interrelated. And so all of these need to be in balance, or at least that they're being functionally well in order for you to have a balanced life. And so it's not just one thing or the other, that they work in concert with each other. So it's thinking about all of these components as you're thinking about well-being and health. And as a leader, that becomes very important, because if any of these areas are lacking or that you're having a problem with, it could throw the whole system off. And so that's where it becomes important for you to actually look at the different components and making sure that they're in a good space. So in terms of things that happen in our life, and that's just part of life, that we're going to have difficulties, that we're going to have stressors, that we're going to have things that happen, negative things or difficult things. The one concept that we talk about is resilience. And you might have heard also it being talked about as grit. So what is resilience? And this is something that is your ability to adjust well when you have adversity, trauma, threats, or various sources of stress. Okay, so how are you able to cope with that? How are you able to bounce back from that is what resilience is about. And oftentimes they're now starting to talk about when people have difficulties in their life, when there's trauma, when there's adverse events, that from that people could actually gain positives from it. And they call that kind of profound growth. And so really that's that resilience that you will have. And that's what you're wanting to build as a leader. Okay, so I'm wanting to talk about stress. And stress is defined as those things that cause undue negative emotions, thinking, behaviors in our lives. Okay, and I gave some examples that you may encounter as stressors in your life, whether it's a rigorous course load or, many extracurricular responsibilities because you're wanting to have that, stellar application for college, setting high expectations for yourself, or maybe that you're getting pressure from other people to have really high expectations of your performance. Relationship or friendship challenges, adjustment to a new situation. So has something changes, like you have to move schools, or that the schedule changes, or even every year changing new classes or new teachers can cause stress. And then on the personal side, family financial problems, maybe there's challenges at home or your living situation, illness or sickness, or changes in your body, or maybe illness or sickness in the family could cause stress to you. Unknowns, that definitely is something for a lot of people that causes stress and anxiety, right? And then just unexpected disruptions in life. Those are those things you can't plan for, but they happen, like a car accident, right? Unexpected, but still something stressful, something you're going to have to deal with. Okay. So the one thing about stress, and I think this is really important, is that we all are going to show signs of stress differently. So there isn't like a recipe or an exact thing, because all of us deal with stress differently. But these are some of the different ways in which stress can be manifested. So you may see anger, irritability, but you also may see sadness and depression. So, two different emotions, but also it kind of the outcome of stress. Any changes in behavior, okay? So some things may be difficulty sleeping, neglecting responsibilities, or that you lack motivation, that you typically have to get things done. Eating changes, that may be where you don't have an appetite or that you actually overeat. Withdrawal, that you start not participating in things or not going out with your friends, that you end up sleeping, staying in bed, or avoiding things. The other thing that may also show stress is you getting sick more often. So those are some of the ways that you can identify stress. And I think the thing is that this not only is in yourself, but you may actually see it in other people, and then being able to figure out, how do I help them or support them? So what can you do in terms of addressing stress? Well, I think one of the basic things that we talk about is actually taking care of yourself. And there's some basic need kind of things that you can always return to if you find yourself really stressed out. So these to me are just basic components of good living habits. So sleeping well. Generally, research shows that for most adults and adolescents, anywhere from 7 to 9 hours a night is considered a good night's sleep. And you're wanting restful sleep, okay? So sleeping the night through. Exercising or engaging in physical activity. So you all may get more physical activity than adults, but if you're sedentary, like sitting at a desk for 8 hours, that's really bad for your health. And so they talk about, every hour you should be getting up and walking around, or at least getting your body moving. The other thing is eating well and moderately. Okay, so, eating healthy, getting a mixture of things that, and not filling your body with junk food, because that also then impacts how your brain, how your body is going to function. The other thing is making sure that you have time to have fun and relax and rest. So that downtime to decompress and just have time to kind of get away and have a good time. Having social connections and relationships. So when they've done longevity studies, they have found that social relationships actually are really important that actually the Surgeon General just put out a report on loneliness, and loneliness is as detrimental to our health as smoking. And so this becomes important in terms of having people that you can connect with, that you can get support from, that, have your back, basically, that they don't have ulterior motives, that they really care about you, and that if you're having a bad day, you can call them and kind of get some support from them and talk to them. The other is spending time outside or in nature. One of the things that has been talked about is, particularly in the United States, we tend to not be out in nature that much anymore, that we're in these concrete buildings, and that actually this is stress relieving to actually be outdoors and in nature. So those are some basic components in terms of getting your needs met. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about social support and resources, because this is also one of the things that I think when you are stressed, these become important for you to actually utilize to get some help. So emotional support is where you have at least 3 people that have your back. So basically what I talked about, that when you're having a bad day, you can call these people and they're going to care and they're going to listen, and you're going to really feel like they're wanting, they're wanting the best for you. And really, there's a foundation that does this research, and that's their criteria in terms of emotional support for people is 3 people, and that you can count on these people for anything. So getting comfort and understanding from these people. As leaders, one of the things that I think is really important, and something I learned in a leadership development program that I was a part of, as a leader, having what we call a kitchen cabinet. And basically, these are just people that as you're doing your leadership positions that you can go to and really kind of lay out and talk about, this person made me really angry, or that they did something to me, or, such and such. And this is kind of an informal group that you can talk to. And I think for me as a leader, that has been really invaluable, that I know I can call these people at any time and I can bend their ear. So I think it's thinking about who are those people for you? And then also what resources can you use in terms of emotional support? Okay. The other type of support, which is a little bit different, is instrumental support. And those are going to be teachers, advisors, mentors, or sponsors. And they will provide more information and advice and help for you in terms of kind of your goals and what you're wanting to achieve or what you're trying to do as a leader. And so kind of more of that where there's a goal orientation to their support. Okay. And then trying to see what are those resources to support you in terms of what your goals and aspirations are. So a little bit different in terms of support. Okay, so some other strategies to combat stress that I thought would be helpful to you. So some of the things that you could do is use of positive affirmations, and these would be strengths and reminders for you. So I just gave some examples that you can remind yourself, I'm loved, I can get through this, and it is okay to feel what I'm feeling, right? And I always tell like people that my clients, that feelings are actually information for you, right? And that what is important is what you do with those feelings. So that's also a way to combat stress is I can hold this feeling, but I don't need to act on the feeling. Staying organized and planning is another way to combat stress so that you can actually lay out things and know what needs to be done. Active coping. Now there's problem-based coping where you identify problems, try and come up with options, and then from the options and outcomes, make your best decision. So that's one way of coping. The other is emotion-based coping. And that's where you're trying to change how you're feeling to another, maybe more positive feeling. And you can do this in a number of ways. One is what we call changing a negative thought to an alternative thought, you know, so that that thought becomes more positive. Another is thought stopping, where you may tell yourself, you know, thinking this is not helpful to me. And so I'm actually going to stop thinking about this. The third thing that you could do is actually distraction. That, you know, maybe you go and listen to music, or you go on exercise, or you watch a movie that makes you laugh. So those are some of the ways that you could cope. The other way is reframing. And this is where you take a current mental state or mindset and you shift it. So a possible reframe, and this, you know, is maybe you interpret someone getting on your case about getting something done, and you're kind of annoyed by it. And so maybe you shift it to, you know what, they're really wanting me to do my best. And it's really more about them caring about me and wanting me to do well and thinking about my future. So that's how you can reframe it, so that maybe it takes it from a negative state to a more, oh, they're more caring and concerned about my well-being. And the last kind of strategies that I'm going to talk about that I really like, because I think you can do them anywhere, are relaxation activities. And I think the reason why I really like these is that they don't take a lot of time. So with deep breathing, this is just basically focusing on your breath. And you can either do this on your own, or there's actually, you know, apps that will help you do that. And you just kind of focus, taking, you know, you can close your eyes and then you just take a deep breath in for 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, hold it, and then let it out. 1, 2, 3. And all you're wanting to do is focus on your breath. And you do that about 5 times. And hopefully that kind of grounds you back to where you need to be. There's imagery techniques where you could, you know, go through this whole scenery of a safe space. Oftentimes people will say, think about a space that you want to be in, and then they kind of take you through a story. And that's something that you can do. The other thing that people have found effective and that you could do it is journaling. And they have all kinds of journals. You could just freely write, or they actually have journals that will give you a prompt. A lot of people will do gratitude journaling, like every day, think of 3 things that you're grateful or appreciative of. And that's supposed to be very helpful to you in terms of stress relief. The last is mindfulness and meditation practices and or apps. There's many now ways in which you could do mindfulness and meditation. Apps such as Calm or Headspace are really easy apps that you can actually engage in. And they're very helpful in terms of, again, centering yourself, grounding yourself, and giving you kind of that awareness of where you are and what kind of place you are in. And so that's kind of in terms of health and resilience and combating stress that I have to go over. I hope that that was helpful to you. And I will take any questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kawahara. That was great. I ended up taking a bunch of notes for myself because I think that these tips are something that don't just apply to students, it kind of applies to everyone in every stage of life. So that was awesome. Thank you so much. Anyone who's attending and listening, if you have any questions for Dr. Kawahara, feel free to type those in the chat and we will get to those at the very end of the presentation.